Whenever I hear people talk about downloads, it's always seems like they're having like these prophetic level downloads, and I don't be having those. Hey y'all, my name is Victoria and I am a deaf doula here in Mississippi, and today I want to share with y'all a download that I had after I started receiving downloads back in 2012 after my mom died. When I was young, when I was a child, about 5 years old, I grew up in a multi-generational household. It was my grandmother, my grandfather, my great-grandmother, my mom, and a couple of her siblings. That's important to the story. So when I was around like 5 years old, I would wake up out of my sleep in the middle of the night. And for me, the middle of the night was somewhere around 10 o'clock. I would walk to the front door of my grandparents' house where I lived, and I would open the door. My mom would be hysterical in a panic, like, why are you doing that? What are you doing? Are you sleepwalking? She really thought I was sleepwalking. I wasn't sleepwalking though, because I vividly remember that I would do that because I'd hear a knock at the door. So I would just get up and go open the door. So fast forward to my mom has passed away, and I am now an adult, and I am receiving these downloads that are new to me as an adult, let me say that. And the download that I received one particular day says to me, "You were opening the door for your uncle." And through this download, I knew exactly the event it was referring to, and I knew exactly who the download was referencing, which uncle. And mind you, I have 6 uncles, not including the one that was being referenced. 6 living uncles, let me say that. At the time, I had 6 living uncles. So the uncle that was being referenced passed away in 1974, I believe. So I had no way of really verifying whether this information was true. I just had to trust this download, which downloads were new to me at the time. But being who I am, the logical thinking, processing person that I was, let me say that, I was like, I gotta figure out if this is true or not. How can I figure out if this is true? So one day I went to my grandmother and I started asking her questions about my deceased uncle. You know, just things about his personality and who he was and things like that, which would segue into my verifying question. So after we were having a conversation about my uncle and my grandmother and his relationship and all of those things, I asked my grandmother, did he ever come home late? And my grandmother's response was, yes, he often came home late. Usually we would be in bed when he would come home around 10 o'clock or so. My mind was completely blown. Yeah. And that is how I was able to verify a download I received. And ever since then, I just trust my downloads. Not that I did before, because there have been other downloads that have happened where I just listened. And there have been some where I didn't listen. And yes, there were consequences. This is the first time I'm ever sharing about my downloads, so I'm getting used to this space of sharing about them. And I'm also getting, settled in the fact or the truth that My downloads are very just insightful sometimes and not prophetic in the way that I see other people's downloads are that they share. Anywho, happy last day of summer, and thank you for coming to my Vic Talk.